which way can the digital strategies be applied to museums? Let's investigate the potentials of the new technologies for museums and cultural institutions. The majority of museum operators already share the idea that multimedia are gradually changing the way of creating knowledge, communicating, connecting people, and the way of learning. In fact, museums have the role of preserving physical objects, but also disseminating knowledge about them, making collections easily accessible and creating meanings and connections between the objects and the public. In this regard, the Internet offers enormous possibilities to share information with a very large public. Good communication strategies are thus essential to understand the museum's collections and their context. For this reason, each museum should develop a digital strategy, meaning that should decide which approach to the digital it wants to adopt. Let's now examine how the technological devices and the media can play an essential role in enhancing the cultural experience. There could be different types of interaction between technologies and museums. First, museums can use multimedia supports as part of the exhibition setting. Second, museums can use blogs for the construction of knowledge. Third, museums can make use of Internet to extend a visit even after the exit from the exhibition. Fourth, museums can employ social media. Fifth, more cultural institutions can be linked through platforms, creating digital cultural networks. Sixth, museums can create online accessible collections. Let's see in more detail these 6 points. First, the use of multimedia supports for exhibitions. A smart use of multimedia supports such as audio, videos, 3D reproductions, or a combination of digital media can intensify the visitor's engagement in both permanent collections and temporary exhibitions. Multimedia supports should be user-friendly, with an intuitive interface. The aim would be that the visitor focuses his attention on the exhibitions rather than on the technological medium. The audience should not be distracted by excessive and invasive multimedia. The information should be provided in the clearest way possible, allowing visitors to concentrate on the details that are more interesting for him. Second, the use of blogs for the construction of knowledge and the creation of online communities. See, for example, the blog Science Buzz, associated with the Science Museum of Minnesota, which focuses on news and emerging researches on science, sharing questions and debates between scientists, museum staff, and visitors. Third, the use of Internet to extend the visit beyond the exit from the museum. As already seen, in fact, the cultural experience can continue even after the visitor leaves the institution, and some technological tools can contribute to this aim. There are methods to help the visitors keep memories of what they have experienced. Bookmarking, as well as e-cards, can be a good strategy to save information and consult it later. There are also tools that help foster the post-visit group interaction, in the case of group visits. Fourth, the use of social media. Now, more and more museums have profiles on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. While keeping in mind the importance of using social media in the correct way, they are good instruments to engage people, especially the young generations. Photographs of the artworks and artifacts can be published, inviting people to share them. Cultural events can be easily advertised. New entries to the museum and new exhibitions can be partly shown, thus enhancing people's curiosity. Fifth, the creation of digital platforms connecting more museums and cultural institutions. This is a good method to create cultural networks. This is an interesting chance to allow visitors to focus on their interests. We have already seen some examples when talking about the participatory strategies within museums, but let's now see a couple of additional cases. The Collections Trust has among its aims that of connecting collections from different museums. To do so, it created a platform called Culture Grid, an aggregator for museums' collections information. Culture Grid contains around 3 million object records from more than 100 collections, which are made more easily accessible to everyone through other channels, such as mobile and social media applications, websites of international or government services, search engines, and so on. For example, one international service is Europeana. This is an EU digital platform for cultural heritage launched in 2008. More than 3,000 institutions all around Europe have contributed to the creation and implementation of Europeana. Thanks to this platform, people from every part of the world have the chance of exploring Europe's cultural and scientific heritage from the prehistory to our modern days. Another example is the website Museum Crush, where many objects from museum collections are shared. The items are divided into broad categories such as archaeology, art, military history, science, and so forth. In addition to articles related to single objects, there are also lists of Britain's best places to see, again organized in accordance with what the user would like to search and see. For example, there are places where British scientists lived, ceramics and pottery collections, open-air museums. This is another case of participatory strategy, mediated by multimedia supports, to engage more and more visitors in the active living of the cultural world. The last point concerns the creation of museums outside the physical place called museum. This point is related to the important concept of the digitized museum. In order to make culture accessible to everyone, the aim would be the creation of online accessible collections. The necessary steps are making high-quality photographs of the objects, creating and continuously updating a catalogue, and putting it on the website. In this way, the objects are accessible from everyone in every place of the world. Furthermore, these virtual exhibitions can give access to objects that are placed in the museum storerooms and otherwise not available to the public. This is very important also in the light of the preservation of the objects from possible destructions or damages, especially in the case of museums located in critical areas of the world. To conclude, the digital museum is a reality not so far from the present. However, the museum of the future should be even more audience-centered, focusing on the public's interests and making people interact with each other.